Welcome to Encroachment Sports Talk. The NFL season week 1 is in the books, and there were a lot of young quarterbacks getting their first significant, or first playing action in the NFL, or first significant playing action. So we wanted to kind of take a run through those and get our opinions. Let's start with this guy's. He's actually in his 4th year, but he hasn't played much because he was behind Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Jordan Love. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, he looked really good, and I'm obviously very interested in that division. So I thought that against that Bears defense, at Chicago, he would struggle. He didn't struggle at all. In fact, he had pretty damn good stats. I think he had 3 touchdowns. You may have but he looked poised in there. To me, he looked very poised, and he didn't try to force the run, which I was worried a little bit he tried to do. What are your thoughts, Mark? I know you watch that kind of carefully.
Yeah, he definitely showed poise, and I was impressed. I thought he would struggle a little bit more. If you look at the stats, are a little misleading because he was the benefit of a lot of big, long plays on either broken coverage, like there was like one 50-yard pass on a broken coverage, and then he just dumped it out once to Aaron Jones, who took it 50 yards. So throughout the first half, his numbers were very pedestrian and kind of where you would expect him to be, completing only about 50% of his passes for, about 100 yards in the first half. And then, like I said, some big plays in the second half. But overall, yeah, he that one touchdown, he threw a really nice back shoulder touchdown. And he extended the plays with his feet when he needed to. He didn't look like a rookie because he's not a rookie. He's not going to be a liability for that team. And there may be more upside. He may be a really strong quarterback.
And I think that is a really, really valid point. He's not going to be a liability for that team because when we went into this season, that was going to be the big question, right? Is he a Justin Field week year 1 type thing, right? Which was He was a liability year 1, and he's not. You're right. So that makes that Green Bay team dangerous now. Whereas I thought I was neutral as to what they're going to look like. So
yeah. So moving on, we had a trio of first-round quarterbacks that played, and I think you and I may have slightly differing opinions of how they all did. But what I saw is nothing to really convince me that any of these 3 guys can't be effective quarterbacks. Let's start with the guy who had the worst game, I think, is Bryce Young. And again, all these quarterbacks made rookie mistakes. Bryce Young made them in a bad way, in the worst way. Bryce Young was pretty good in terms of using his feet to escape the rush, whereas the others kind of held onto the ball a little too long. But he forced the ball down the middle twice on really inadvisable passes. But I just attribute that to rookie growing pains first game. I have less confidence that Bryce Young is going to be an effective pro quarterback long term. I kind of like CJ Stroud more, but I'm going to give him a pass on his pretty bad game due to it being a first game, and he'll learn not to force the ball down the middle. What do you think about Bryce Young?
Well, here's how I'm going to give you my take on all 3 of them. I think there were encouraging periods of time for them, which is good. They didn't look terrible the whole game. In other words, which can happen. But so they're encouraging signs for them, but they did struggle. I mean, none of them came out and just, came out like gangbusters and you said to them, oh, that's the next, Joe Montana. Not that you get a lot of those, but nobody came out and they all looked like they were rookies. I mean, they all threw interceptions or had fumbles. They all had fairly pedestrian numbers. I mean, Richardson to me looks like the least accurate, which we talked about in terms of placement of the ball, but he can run, that's for sure. I mean, I think the guy who had the best game against the best defense was CJ Stroud. So
I agree. I liked what I saw from CJ Stroud. He moved the chains, a lot of like 10, 12-yard completions over the middle. He was poised back there in the pocket. His mistake was holding on to the ball too long. He took, 4 or 5 sacks, and one of them was a fumble. But again, that can totally be cleaned up. He had 44 pass attempts without an interception. And, in today's age of stats, they'll always throw like multiple combinations of things. So here's the latest stat that I chuckled at. CJ Stroud is the only quarterback in NFL history in week 1 to throw at least 44 pass attempts without an interception.
Yeah, there's a stat for everything.
I would like to ask how many rookie quarterbacks in their first start have ever thrown 44 passes.
Right? That's probably, he's probably up there, right?
There's probably 2. That's a lot of passes.
There's probably a couple. That's about.
But yeah, I liked what I saw with CJ Stroud.
He's and remember, they're playing a Baltimore defense that almost hit the elite level, in my opinion. I mean, they're one tier below, the 3 teams that we talked about earlier in a prior.
Yeah. So you mentioned Anthony Richardson, and I was sort of a detractor. In our preseason fantasy booms and busts, I said he's a bust because he's not going to be a top 10 quarterback. I saw a lot of Josh Allen, like a lot of Josh Allen. He's big and strong. He can extend, he can run for touchdowns, run for first downs, and likes to do that like Josh Allen. And he's not accurate, kind of like Josh Allen's game against the Jets. Allen's not known for his accuracy or taking care of the football. And because I'm going to compare Anthony Richardson to the next quarterback I want to talk about, because he's so big and strong, I think he can continue to play that way for many years. Most mobile quarterbacks, they're going to get pounded and they're not going to last.
Right.
But when I don't know how big he is, but like 260 pounds or whatever, he's going to be able to take the beating. Yeah, he did look a little sloppy with some of his, lack of accuracy, but just his ability to run the ball, and he's a threat. You got to account for that all the time. So.
Well, I'll tell you this. Indianapolis fans who are listening to this and management are going to be happy to hear that comparison, because if he's anything like Josh Allen, he'll develop year 1 to 2 to 3 to what, and he'll become more accurate, and he'll use his strengths, which is his ability to scramble and has strength in the pocket and so forth, to really propel that team forward. I just worry about Josh Allen got a lot more accurate after his first year. For whatever reason. You remember coming out of Wyoming, they were like, this dude can throw at 80 yards, but good luck trying to find accuracy with him. Somebody worked with him, and he developed a lot better game. Richardson's got a lot more to go, in my opinion. So
yeah, good point. So the guy I wanted to compare him to, watching the highlights of the Bears game, Justin Fields has got to stop running the ball. He is not going to last. He is getting pounded, and he needs to be able to throw that football. And I'm starting to have some doubts about Justin Fields. He's too quick to tuck it and run. And I don't know what he weighs, but he looks real wispy, light out there on his feet.
Yeah, when you compare him to Richardson, there's no doubt. I agree with you. I mean, here's the problem with Fields. Fields had a couple games last year where he won it just with his legs. And then everyone was thinking, you saw some of those runs. 60-yard runs and stuff.
Yeah.
Those don't come along very often.
Right.
Teams are playing him for that now. So he's got to throw the ball. They went on and got some weapons like DJ Moore. I'm with you. He better start using those weapons, or he's not long for this, this season, basically. And it's just the nature of the game. They're gonna spy him because he's just too dangerous.
Yeah, it's sad. It's almost scary to watch him. It's like
you're waiting for an accident, because he took some big hits.
He's still amazing though. Like he's still, his ability to take it the distance, or But look at who's similar in terms of athletic ability and ability to run, but has learned how to pass, is Lamar Jackson, right? Like you don't want Lamar Jackson just tucking and running all the time, and he's learned how to throw it down the field. So hopefully Fields can do that.
Yeah, well, and remember when Michael Vick first came on the scene, same thing, right? And he was even smaller. He was even smaller than Fields. But so he learned to pass the ball because he had to, because you don't, you almost die every week because you're just, getting pounded. But I agree with you. I think Fields, for him to really realize his potential, he's going to have to trust his playmakers and start getting them involved, because he does panic. I think in the pocket, he panics a little bit, and he tucks and runs.
So one other point I wanted to make, I alluded to this on a previous episode, in terms of the economics of the NFL, I laugh and envision a scenario where there are more than 32 franchise level quarterbacks. Suddenly it doesn't make sense to pay a lot to your quarterback.
Right.
So I see 4 new guys who, until proven wrong, could potentially be the franchise quarterback for their team. In Love, Young, Stroud, and Richardson.
That's a good point.
It's still very early on all those guys, but we're almost to the point where there's like 18, 20 of the quarterbacks in the NFL are still quarterbacks that their teams believe can be their franchise guy, and aren't looking to move on from. So, like I said, we get 12 more, and suddenly the economics will change.
Oh, you're right. Well, and guess who had he had a poor performance because he was injured and everything else. But now the highest paid quarterback is Joe Burrows, right? Are you going to pay a guy $50 million going forward? I don't know. That's a big number. That's a quarter of your salary cap or more.
Right. Like, why have the Bengals gone to the deep into the playoffs the last few years? It's because they've got a quarterback playing for $8 million that's playing at a high level. So that's where if you get another $50 million to spend on other positions.
Right, exactly. So now they're going to try to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Good luck. I think they're only going to be able to pencil out one of those. So their window was like 3 years. And
I mean, it's like what happened to the running back position. I don't think running backs have become less important. I just think there's so many good ones.
I agree with you 100%. And I think honestly, the schemes are such that running backs, I mean, really for a quarterback now, there's so much going on, so much mental stuff going on, that it is difficult to get somebody who can process all that. It's a little easier just being a running back. These quarterbacks have so much thrown at them.
Oh yeah.
The team is, an outside zone run is an outside zone run, but it's different when you got 50 different plays you got to remember, and the defense is constantly changing. So,
yeah, it's if you ever watch, if you're not an X's and O's guy, you ever watch like Dan Orlovsky breaking down the decision making that quarterbacks have to do? It is not easy. Impressive. I can't imagine playing that.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and you've got me back on. Kirk Cousins is a great decision maker. He's not mobile at all, and he's tough as hell. I had to throw that out there because we're now 0-2. But I've got a lot of respect for the guy because he's taking a beating right now.
Yeah, hopefully the Vikings can turn things around here soon before the season gets away from them. So
yeah, I agree. Had to throw in my Vikings plug. Sorry about that.
Well, you always have to do it. Do you have any other thoughts on quarterback play?
No, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, Mark. We get to go round 2.
We do. I'm looking forward to it too. So thanks again, Chris, and we'll be back soon.
Sounds good.